Okay, cool. Let's get started. Hopefully I don't get nervous. Hey everybody, my name is Steph. I am the Managing Director of Fairvote Washington. Tonight I am speaking to you as the person who is heading up the campaigns, plural, that we are working on across the state. We've got a couple of fun announcements happening tonight. We've got a couple of fun interactive activities. So please, you will notice this is not a seminar format. This is a pretty casual group. I'm really excited to be the one kicking it off. I'm emceeing, but this is not my meeting. This is everybody's meeting. We're all here to learn more about how ranked choice voting is going, as I say, across the state, get some specific updates, and also hear from volunteers who are working in those specific jurisdictions. So we've got, as is our way, we're gonna start with a ranked choice election. And it is October, so of course we're gonna rank candy. From what I understand, we're going to share a link, which is now in the chat. Feel free to ping me or just unmute and say, I can't look at that link. It's pretty straightforward, but I think, Sam, did you mention that we've got some folks who want to make pitches for their favorite candy?
I am looking through the list to see if those folks are here yet.
Okay.
Let's see. Sharon, are you here? I don't think the volunteers have made it here yet. So I think that the staff members can make.
Wait, we have a new person.
Oh, we do.
I'm so sorry. Hang on. Before we start talking about, okay. Wow, Trenton, I thought we were friends, but I guess we are not. So first things first, I need to tell y'all how ranked choice voting works, or actually, I'm not gonna tell y'all how ranked choice voting works. I think we've got Chris Mason on this call, and he's going to share his screen and walk us through the process. Chris?
I was gonna share the results.
Oh, okay, great.
But that doesn't happen until later.
That doesn't happen until later. Does that mean that you can't share your screen right now, though?
Right.
Aha, okay.
Sorry.
Kit, someone's, Trenton, come on. All right, I'm gonna share my screen then. Just give me one moment, please. Ranked choice voting, as I'm talking about this, I will pull this up as I'm talking. Ranked choice voting, it's in the name. You're gonna rank your candidates, 1, 2, 3, and so on. I'm gonna show you, actually, Lisa, would you mind sharing your screen?
We have to,
you're muted.
She's muted. And
I already voted and now I can't share it again. So I don't know if
Versus, okay.
I held off
one moment
stuff if you want me to.
Yeah, Kelsey, you'd be great.
Hello.
Hi, Kelsey. Yes. Oh my goodness, for sure. Do you want to walk us through this, or would you like to share your screen and I'll do the walking?
I can share my screen and you can do the walking, and then I will respond to your walking. How about that?
Teamwork makes the dream work. Kelsey Hamlin, everybody. She's one of our strongest team members. She's one of our newest team members. So thank you so much, Kelsey. Okay. So what we have here is 5 candidates for our favorite Halloween candy. We have Milky Way, Skittles, Tootsie Roll, candy corn, and Snickers. There are 5 choices. You are welcome to rank 1 of them. You are welcome to rank 5 of them. You decide. I will say, in this specific instance, if you don't vote for candy corn, that is okay. So so we're just gonna click on these in the order that we like them, but if we make a mistake and we wanna switch it, we totally can. So Kelsey, I invite you to fill this out as you would a ballot, please. And yeah, Take your time. This can be a tough decision.
I detest candy corn, so I will demonstrate how to remove these. So I just selected candy corn. I don't want it up there. There's a little red subtract mark between these arrows, which lets me take it off. Bloop. Okay.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. All right. Tell us how you feel about candy. Snickers, Milky Way.
That is literally it. I don't like the rest of them.
Okay. That's fantastic. That's totally fine. You have the option to rank your choices 1, 2, 3, and so on, or not. And now Kelsey will please confirm that she is not a robot and submit her vote.
I'd be really good at AI. I'd be impressive.
That would be fantastic. Okay. Yay. Now we're going to switch. Thank you so much, Kelsey. Yes. So we got a great demonstration there of how to rank your candidates. I believe you preferred Snickers to Milky Way, but Milky Way was just fine. And now Trenton is here for the Snickers too, which is great. Now I'm going to call on Chris to share results.
We're going to do the results at the very end.
Oh,
So
great. Okay, I'm miles behind on this. I'm miles behind. I apologize, everybody. So I'm not going to do this without an example. I apologize. So what is going to happen at the end is you will see that the person, the candy who had the least number 1 choices, they're eliminated. They're just taken off the list. Nope, not enough first choices to win. You've been eliminated. And what happens is everyone who chose that candy first, now we go to their second choices. And those are attributed to the candies that are still left. Okay. That keeps happening until one of the candies achieves 50%. That's how ranked choice voting works. That wasn't so bad, actually, without an example. You're going to see it in action at the end. Sam, do we have any volunteers here who want to make their pitch?
We actually do. We have Tim here who is ready to make a pitch for one of our candy candidates above all the others.
Take it away, Tim.
Yes.
Me, right? This Tim?
Yes, Tim Kitchen.
Okay, cool. Kitchenton. Well, I'm going to go with Snickers because it has both the taste and the substantive hardiness of peanuts to give you some protein. And I think it has all the best of both worlds, tastiness and an actual not a meal replacement, but a legit snack. So Snickers.
And as a Snickers supporter, whose second votes are you maybe interested in from the other candies that we have?
Well, I was thinking Milky Way. Milky Way is kind of like Snickers, but without the peanuts. And so why would I do that? It's still good though. I'm going to go Snickers because it's different and it has a focused sweetness. And you can do bit by bit, so you can make it last longer. So
you think that some folks who are interested in Snickers might be choosing Milky Way as their second choice. So
yeah, in terms of similarity, but in terms of tastiness, they might go with Skittles.
Okay, fair enough.
A different, but I don't know, similar.
Yes. Okay. Let's see, any of the staff have preferences or pitches that they want to make? I know Chris Mason might want to make a little pitch for candy corn.
Well, I seem to be the only person out there that likes candy corn. I find it to be a very enjoyable little sweet morsel that we have bowls of starting in September around the house. So it's a staple for us, and that's definitely, and with that theme of I definitely like my sugar candies more than my chocolate candies. So I am one of my other favorites didn't make it on the ballot, which was Smarties, but I would have to then probably do Skittles as my second choice.
So you're hoping to get some of the second votes from the Snickers or for the Skittles folks.
Yeah, that's who I would pick as second. Yes.
Okay.
Trenton, would you like to make a pitch for Tootsie Rolls? I'm kind of putting Trenton on the spot. He is not.
Yeah, really on the spot here. Sure. I do like Tootsie Rolls. I think they're just a little bit, I'm a big fan of Snickers, but they're a little too sweet for me. I like the chewy consistency of Tootsie Rolls. So best consistency, not overly sweet. And yeah, go Tootsie Roll.
And is there anybody in the group who you would encourage to put you as the second choice, the Tootsie Rolls as the second choice?
I think Snickers. Yeah, I think Snickers is you get good texture and you get chocolate. So there's some crossover there.
So you're in the chocolate family. So if you can't have one chocolate, might as well rank another chocolate the second.
Definitely.
Okay. Fair.
That too. Yeah, thank you. Sorry. Colin with the variety call out on Tootsie Rolls. Doesn't have to be chocolate.
That's so true. Colin, do you want to jump in with some more love for the Skittles?
Yes. So you just got to go back to the early 2000s with those really weird Taste the Rainbow commercials. Those were awesome. They were way ahead of the game. They beat Geico out. They were the first ones doing really weird stuff. They had existential crises. They had a guy who was like the Michelin man, and he would touch everything in his life. He touched his desk and like it would turn to Skittles. And the implication at the end of one of these like existential crises commercials is like he turns his family to Skittles, and it's like a horrific horror movie. That's awesome. It's perfect for Halloween. Go Skittles.
Something cool about this whole thing is that no one is saying what I thought they were going to say. That's especially true for Colin's story about Skittles, but I think that that's great. And it also leads us back to ranked choice voting is great because you have to make an actual pitch for what you like. But Sam, I don't want to step on your toes. Go for it.
No, you're good. I think most of the candies have had a fair shot. Are we missing anybody? If anybody feels called to make a pitch for their candy, speak now or forever hold your peace.
Or just vote.
Or just vote. Yeah, you can also.
That's okay too. Okay. Let's keep moving. So yes, Chris is going to keep sharing the link. We have it set up so that everyone can only vote once. But when new people hop in, we should, you should be able to fill it in. Okay, so we're still waiting on a couple of our amazing volunteers. So I'm going to jump in and kind of open with what are we up to statewide? So ranked choice voting, this movement has existed long before I got to Washington. I've only been here for a couple of years. Fair Vote Washington has been working in the legislature. They've been working in cities, counties. We've been working directly with voters, and that's what has led us to where we are today. I do want to give a shout out to our fearless leader, Lisa Aero, who's our executive director. She is on this call also. She's been working on this since I think Fair Vote Washington started in 2016. So we've got a lot of knowledge about not just Washington, also ranked choice voting. And that's, really put us in a great position to be working on all three of these races. They're a little bit different. So they're all about ranked choice voting, and they are all taking place in Washington, but they're all a little bit different. So let's get started with San Juan County, who holds a special place in my heart. San Juan County is an absolutely volunteer-led movement to put ranked choice voting on their ballots. They made it happen last year. We had a little bit of a kerfuffle actually putting it on the ballot, but we were able to make it happen. And so this year, the folks up in San Juan County will be voting to start using ranked choice voting to elect their county level officials if there is statewide approval for ranked choice voting at the level of the legislature. I'm looking at Lisa, who is nodding that I have that one right. Okay, heading down south to Clark County. Clark County is just, doesn't matter what the state's gonna do, they are saying, we're gonna start using ranked choice voting to elect our county officers. There are 11 seats. We're gonna decide to do that this November. Are we gonna do it? Are we not gonna do it? It's going to be implemented in just a few years, the next time they elect everyone to the county. That's what's on the ballot down in Clark. Quite straightforward. It's challenging. That's a pretty purple area. There is a pretty, I think unpleasant is a good word to describe the congressional race down there. It's just a lot of fighting, a lot of mudslinging. So we're hoping to be able to like reach into a purple county like Clark and say, aren't you all over the infighting? Don't you want people to just talk about why they love their candidate or their candy and not spend any time, slinging mud? So that's sort of like how we're thinking about Clark County, right? We're thinking about it more as a like, this is an opportunity to improve your elections. Then we're gonna head back north. We're gonna head up to Seattle. Seattle is a totally different ballgame. They're gonna start using, hopefully, the question on their ballot is twofold, but the ranked choice voting specific piece I'll get to first. And that's just, they would like to start using ranked choice voting in their primaries at the city level to select the top 2 candidates that go on to the general. That's the ranked choice voting there. So you can see how all of these questions are a little bit different. The other question in Seattle, it's a 2-parter, like I said. The first question is, do you want to change the way we do elections? Yes or no? No matter how you answered that first one, would you prefer 1A, which is approval voting? It's not us. 1A is not for us. Or 1B, ranked choice voting. That's ours. So they have to check 2 boxes to make sure that we're getting ranked choice voting. And again, this is only for the city and it's only for the primary. So all of these have to do with ranked choice voting, but why, you might ask, are we doing them all right now? Why are we doing 3 different things at once? Why did we want Stephanie to not get any sleep at all in the month of October? I'll tell you, it's because this is how the state wants, this is how the state allows for local jurisdictions to change the way that they do their elections. San Juan County and Clark County are charter counties. They are allowed to bring this to the voters. Seattle's a little bit different. We got on the ballot because the Seattle City Council wanted to give voters an alternative to approval voting, which was already on the ballot. So we've just got to be able to walk and chew bubble gum at the same time. We've got to do all 3 at once. Here's what happens next, though. Once all of these jurisdictions use ranked choice voting, what we have found, this national movement of ranked choice voting has found, once people start using ranked choice voting, they want to keep using ranked choice voting. So they start using it, they see how it works, they see how the campaigns change, they see how, oh, that person might not have been elected before, but now they are because I was able to rank them 2nd or 3rd. And they feel empowered by that. They want to keep doing it. So that's sort of what we're up to right now. And that's what we're looking forward to continuing over the next few years. We're going to keep working at the county and city level. We're going to keep working at the state level. And I'm sure, we've got the federal level on the horizon as well. It's about having a lot of conversations with a lot of voters and a lot of legislators and a lot of leadership, just community leadership. So, excuse me, that's what's happening with ranked choice voting statewide. That's why we're doing 3 things at once. And we also, I believe, have a couple of volunteers who are going to speak directly to how things are going in their neck of the woods. Sam is going to lead that conversation. Sam, are you and your team ready to go?
Yes, we have 2 out of 3 volunteers here. So here's hoping that Pam from Clark County can join us at some point.
Okay.
But who we do have right now is we have Tim Kitchen from Seattle, and we have Sharon Abreu from San Juan County. Thank you both so much for joining us tonight. I have 3 questions for each of you. So the first question that I have, we'll go ahead, let's go person by person. So let's start with you, Sharon. What is the atmosphere on the ground in San Juan County? How are people feeling about ranked choice voting?
Well, thank you for asking that. Having spent the summer every Saturday or almost every Saturday at the Orcas Island Farmers Market, the energy was very high and people were so appreciative and just running up to the table and saying, "Where do I sign?" And I was like, well, there really isn't anything to sign, but you can vote for ranked choice voting on your ballot in November. And you can call your state legislators and tell them you want them to pass that legislation that's in the state legislature, those 2 bills for ranked choice voting. So the energy was definitely high and 99% receptive. So I'm feeling very positive, very optimistic going into this ballot and this election.
That is so great to hear. We're really excited about San Juan County this year. So Sharon, I know you've been doing a ton personally as our most active, most involved volunteer in San Juan County. What have you been doing and enjoying doing to spread the word about ranked choice voting?
Well, the main thing that I was doing was, as I said, tabling at the Orcas Island Farmers Market this summer, which was terrific because we had so many great conversations with people. And most of the time people knew what it was and were excited about it. And sometimes people were, what is that? And we had, so it was educating voters in San Juan County because, hey, it's going to be on our ballot. So we want people to know what the heck this is. And we also had a lot of people from Seattle and from other parts of Washington State. They come to vacation in San Juan County every summer. So we got to do a lot of great outreach beyond the county as well. I also just had a letter to the editor the week before last, and having lots of conversations with people.
That is wonderful. It's exactly what we need to do to get RCV passed. And my final question for you is, why do you think it's important to bring RCV to San Juan County specifically?
Well, I think it's important to bring RCV everywhere, frankly.
Of course.
I've been promoting ranked choice voting since I first learned about it in 2004. So I'm very excited about the momentum. But for San Juan County specifically, people say, well, why do we need ranked choice voting? We have so few people running for offices. And I said, well, we would like to have more people running for offices, wouldn't we? And we'd like to have people run for office who maybe never considered it before. And ranked choice voting, because it focuses on more positive campaigning and it can save people money in campaigns, it can encourage more people and more excellent candidates to run for office who never thought about themselves as candidates before.
That is a great point, because that is something that people from San Juan County say. They're like, do we really need this? And we're like, RCV just makes elections better. You just have to see it in action and it will make a difference. Thank you, Sharon, so much for sharing. And then we will move on to Tim with an update from Seattle. So Tim, first question, same as Sharon's. What do you feel the atmosphere is like in Seattle surrounding this upcoming election and ranked choice voting?
Yeah, so I've presented to about 5 places, and from that experience, it's always positive. It's the same consistent thing when people often don't recognize the water or the air that they breathe, the water they swim in, like, oh, we can do this. Oh, wow, this actually makes sense. So that's the most consistent thing, is raising awareness and the positive reactions that I've gotten to it. In terms of door knocking and endorsements, I think Lisa could speak to that more, but I know we have around 30 or more endorsements, which is huge. And I know there's different precinct captains for each precinct within Seattle. I'm going to start doing that either this weekend or next weekend, door knocking. I've been focusing on the presentation stuff in particular at the University of Washington, and also a couple of neighborhood councils, including Fremont. So yeah,
Very
overall,
cool.
great whenever I interact with people.
Awesome. So you already answered my second question. What have you been doing to spread the word? I know you've been doing all your presentations, and thank you for starting to door knock. And then the third question, why do you feel like it's important to bring ranked choice voting to Seattle specifically?
Well, I know that if we got into Seattle, it's a very significant city. Getting in New York City last year was really huge, and you can point to that as like, wow, more than a place where more than 1 million people vote. So it's another place to anchor the whole movement, and another place to point to like, hey, it's working here in this major city. Here's how they did it. Another data point. And also another method like, oh, they did the primaries first. How did that work out? So yeah, a huge anchor point potentially.
Awesome. Yeah. So a way to show the rest of the United States, hey, we're doing this. It's great. RCV is spreading and everybody should try it. That's a great reason. And just in time, we have Pam here from Clark County. Pam, thank you for joining us. And same 3 questions for you as I gave to the others. So, and this is, I think, probably a little different for you than it is for San Juan County and Seattle. What do you feel the atmosphere is like in Clark County surrounding ranked choice voting? How do people feel about it?
Well, Clark County is kind of 50-50 as far as like Republican Democrat vibe going on. And so, although, hold on a second, who's leaving? Sorry, I've got a house full of people, forgive me.
No worries.
So as far as, even though it's a nonpartisan issue, ranked choice voting, that's, everything's political, right? So you kind of have to, I get a different sense of who I'm talking to, especially after what happened in Alaska. I think prior to Alaska, when I would do tabling events, I got pretty much a warm reception from, all political, across the spectrum, right? And then after that happened, I did a tabling event after Alaska happened, and they were just kind of like, yeah, well, I'm not interested. Look what happened in Alaska, and it's like, ugh. So you kind of have to, so then I would just kind of counter that with, well, look what happened in our local elections just that we had in August. I mean, had the Republicans had ranked choice voting in place, you would be in a better position today because you had your vote split. So, and, you just have to put it into perspective for them. It could have just as easily been a Republican win in any state or a Democratic win. It just depends on how you look at it, because it's not really a win for that. It's just a more fair for everybody, right? It's not supposed to be like favoring one person or another, but Alaska really kind of put that seed in their brain that it's favoring Democrats. So I kind of feel like we're fighting that a little bit now. Bye, True. Bye, Zeke. Sorry.
It's okay.
My youngest daughter's turning 16, and her sister came over, and they just got in from Tampa, and they haven't even seen her yet. And so a lot of chaos going on. See, I'm eating my melting cake and ice cream right here. So, but back to the original question, I was kind of veering off track. So yeah, we're kind of, fielding a lot of like 50-50 reception to it, I feel like. I mean, before I kind of felt like 80% of the people were, once they heard about it and learned what it was, nobody says, oh, I don't like that. Everyone's like, oh, that sounds great. But then after Alaska happened, I kind of feel like it's more like 70-30, 60-40 maybe than before.
That's really interesting, because the Alaska example had like the opposite effect on people from Seattle and people from San Juan, I'm sure. So I already know this one, but what have you been doing to spread the word most recently? Specifically, I can think of things that you've been doing.
Yeah, I did the canvassing in the neighborhood, and it was a pretty warm day, and we made it through, and that was really fun. I like canvassing. You get to talk to a lot of people, and I mean, we kind of would skip the places that said no soliciting. We didn't want to, we just leave the literature at the door and left it at that. But we did talk to a lot of people, and people were really receptive to it. In fact, on our walk, we met the county auditor's father, who was walking his dog. The guy who's, his name escapes me right now. He's running for auditor in Clark County. But
so is it Greg Kimsey?
Greg Kimsey, yeah, thank you. Kimsey's father was walking his dog, and so he's like, "Hi, what are you guys out doing today?" And so we're like, "Oh, well, we're with Fair Vote Washington, and we have some literature that we're going to houses explaining ranked choice voting's on the ballot." And he's like, "Oh, well, my son is Greg Kimsey, and he was talking to me about ranked choice voting," and so it was really funny.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's in Clark County. It's really important to talk to voters where they're at, and I'm so glad that you have been doing some canvassing for us. And then the third question: why do you think that it's important to bring ranked choice voting to Clark County specifically? And I think you already touched on this a bit with this specific example, but you can speak also a little more broadly if you'd like.
Yeah, because people do have a sense that everything is political, and I really want to voice that it's a nonpartisan issue. Ranked choice voting, it just gives everyone across the board better representation, but then people think representation is a political issue. So, you're fighting that battle, how everything's political. But I just really want to convey to people that it's not a partisan issue. It's really going to reduce polarization, because it forces campaigns to be a little more amicable, and the candidates want to be your second or third choice, right? So they're going to play nice in the sandbox together, and everyone's like had it up to here with the polarization. So I think that is really appealing to a lot of people.
That's wonderful.
So It's important to get the message out that for that reason alone is so important. And then for me, I like that it welcomes other candidates to enter the race, whereas we kind of have this two-party stronghold the way the elections have historically been. So, people feel like they might even have a shot to enter a political race, and you'll have more candidates to choose from because of that, and have more representation because of that. Other parties, independents, can feel like they have a shot.
Yeah, those are great points. And it sounds like in Clark County, we just kind of need to make people aware that it is not a Democratic plot, but that it's a nonpartisan thing, and it'll bring, great things to all the elections. So thank you so much, all of you. Thank you, Pam and Tim and Sharon, for sharing and being such wonderful volunteers and helping us get RCV passed. We really appreciate it. So now we're going to move on and talk a little bit about how you can get involved. But before we do that, I know that many of you have been really excited and clamoring for yard signs, and we do have them on the way, both in Clark County and in Seattle. So I'm sure that makes some of you very, very happy. So I would like to especially encourage people who can take more than one yard sign for themselves, but multiple yard signs that you can distribute yourself or distribute to friends to put up in their yards. We just, in a campaign like this, where it's not for a political candidate, but it's for an issue that people might not know that much about, seeing a yard sign can really make a difference, because they'll see a sign, they'll be like, what even is ranked choice voting? And if somebody has no idea, they'll go Google it and might get some idea. I know that I've done that a lot with bumper stickers on cars. Like, what the heck does that mean?
And can I interject something real quick?
Sure, yeah, go ahead.
I've passed a few signs around here in Clark County that say no to ranked choice voting.
Oh,
and I'm like, oh, well, we need to fix that. We need our signs to have a presence, because when people say that, if they don't see anything other than that, they might lean toward, I better say no. People are saying, say no to this.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Without even doing any research, a lot of people can just lean that way, because that's the exposure, that's what's getting oxygen, right?
Exactly.
So we need our signs out for sure.
Yes, as soon as we get them. So here, you all, is the form. So fill in that form, and you can tell us whether you're in Clark or Clark County or Seattle. In Clark County, we're specifically going to be focusing on Vancouver to put up the signs. And the yard sign person for distribution is located in Vancouver. If you're not located in Vancouver, you are still welcome to make the trip, come to Vancouver, get some signs and bring them back to where you are, but we're mostly focusing in Vancouver for demographic reasons. Yes, yard signs, very exciting. I know people love them. And this weekend, we have upcoming a weekend of action in both Clark County and Seattle. And we have Vinay with us here from Fair Vote National, who's been helping us out on the ground in Seattle. Vinay, we're so grateful for the work that you're doing with us. Can you talk to people a little bit about the weekend of action that's going to be happening in Seattle?
Yeah, thanks so much, Sam. And before I go on, you probably, those who haven't met me can hear my accent. I'm from Australia, where we've had ranked choice voting for 100 years and it's working spectacularly. Feel free to ask me any questions about it later, about how it operates. So this weekend, we have a weekend of action in Seattle. So ballots are dropping today, right? So if there's any moment that you could have, you could not have a greater impact than right now, because this is when voters are deciding, how am I going to vote, right? And in the very first weekend. So what we will need you to do is come out, and while voters are making up their minds on how they're going to vote, is talk to them, right? So we have specifically got at the Fair Vote, I believe the link is going to be shared, but the Fair Vote Washington Mobilize, we have set up specifically a weekend of action. We'll all be meeting in Volunteer Park. And would love to get your help in coming and helping voters make up their minds. And remember, every single conversation you have, even every piece of literature you leave behind will make a big impact. Why? Because there are a lot of voters out there who just might not know that this is on the ballot. So seeing someone out there, even doing literature or especially having a conversation with them, is going to make a big impact on them. So this is when we need you out there. And even if you can't make this weekend, on our Fair Vote Mobilize, we've got events through 100% of the time. We've got coverage from now through to Election Day on November 8th. So please sign up for the weekend of action, and also would love to have you throughout the entire period. Whatever you can spare, whatever time you can spare, helping convince voters to vote for ranked choice voting between now and November 8th.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Vinay. And Vinay has just made an excellent pitch for canvassing, and I would just say ditto to everything he said applies in Clark County as well. But I would also like to encourage folks that may not necessarily be in Clark County, if you feel like you can take a little bit of a trip to come down for Saturday or Sunday. As you've heard from Pam and from Steph, Clark County is an environment where it's a little more difficult to kind of get people interested in ranked choice voting. It's kind of more 50-50 when it comes to progressives versus conservatives. And Clark County is somewhere where we really do need people on the ground, knocking on doors, talking to voters, because it is how we will win in November, is having these conversations, getting out there and educating people about ranked choice voting. And as you just heard, apparently they're seeing a bunch of yard signs telling them no on ranked choice voting. So we need to get out there and combat that, especially in these final 20 odd days before Election Day. And as Vinay mentioned, if you can't make the weekend of action itself, we have several events throughout the week. Monday, we have a phone bank into Seattle specifically from 4 to 6 p.m. Tuesday, we have text banking into Clark County from 5 to 7 p.m. Wednesday, we have another phone bank from 4 to 6. And again, all of these events are available to sign up on Fair Vote's Mobilize. Yes, so I think at this point, we are ready to go ahead and run the ranked choice voting election. Chris, would you like to share your screen and walk us through the results? I can barely wait to find out what candy is the winner tonight.
Yes, let's do that. So here we are using Rank It, and I think this is 49 votes with quite an even distribution percentage-wise. We can see how many votes it was. We have 49 votes. Pretty cool. But nobody got the threshold for a single winner race to 50%. So we have to remove Tootsie Rolls and the people that voted. So how many people? So 5 people, that was their first choice. So who did they vote for second? Milky Way got some, Candy Corn got some, and Snickers got some. Still nobody has won. So we need to remove Skittles. And we now have more votes trickling up to try to figure out who is the one candidate that is the most popular. We do not have a tie anymore. We did last round, but we have enough votes. There's no ties here. So Candy Corn is out.
Alas.
And Snickers wins. So there we go.
Yay, Snickers. Woohoo. I'm just happy personally that it wasn't Candy Corn. So.
Are there any questions? All right, I'm going to stop sharing that.
Awesome. Now at this point, we can go ahead and open it up to questions from the audience for any of the people that have spoken on tonight's panel. As for the question that I'm seeing a lot in the chat of, do we know who has put up those signs in Clark County? No, we do not, but we're going to be looking into it. So as soon as we know, we will let that.
It's actually very helpful.
I do know who's doing that actually, or not the particular people, but there is a extremist right-wing contingent that had an event. They were putting out no against ranked choice voting, and that's what they're pushing.
Thank you, Cindy.
Good to know.
If anyone, so like us, they are probably going to be texting. They might send some mail out, and that's what we're doing. That's not bad. But if you could just let us know if you get a piece of mail or if you get a text, and this is true for Clark and for Seattle, and just send us a screenshot, or if you're not sure how to do that, it's not always straightforward. If you're not sure, just call someone, call me or Sam, and just let us know, because it's important that we know what they're saying. And oftentimes I'm not getting, campaign staff is removed from those lists intentionally so that we don't know what they're saying. So we count on all of you to share that information with us.
Also, with our
Cindy, did you say the name?
It's the group that's supporting Joe Kent that's running for Congress. I have an article I'll post in the chat about it that had the flyers about the ranked choice voting.
Wonderful, thank you. Another thing to note is that in this new age of organizing with COVID and remotely, Steph and I are not in offices on the ground in Seattle and in Clark County. So you guys, those of you who are located in these places, you're our eyes and ears. You know what's going on in a way that we really don't sometimes. So this is the first time hearing about the yard signs, and I'm glad to be able to tell you that we have yard signs to combat them. So.
Sam, just naming that I see Carol has her hand up.
Thank you. Carol, go ahead.
Oh, thank you. I have a question about when you were scoring the ranked choice voting for the candy bars. When there was the one that got the fewest votes and you took it away, then did you just subtract those, or did you use their second choice?
Definitely went to their second choices. Here, I can show that again.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Just a sec, I will show that here. So here we are at round 1, and Tootsie Roll, there's 5 votes. And you can see these bars up here, there's 19, 8, 8, and 9. And when we go to round 2, these numbers went up because these candidates now have more votes.
Oh, because the second choice for the Tootsie Rolls were added in up there.
Up there. That's where the so each round we count all the ballots.
Right.
And we tally them based on who is given the highest ranking on each ballot.
Yes.
And so in this round, this is how they tally up.
I understand now. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Wonderful. Do we have any more questions, comments, information to share from anybody else? Blaine, what's up?
Hi, yeah, thank you for this presentation tonight. I wanted to ask some of the volunteers what kind of reactions they've had when they tell people how ranked choice voting works. I think all of us kind of have to scratch our heads a little bit. And I mean, it's not complicated, but I just wonder what kinds of reactions you've got from the people you've talked to in terms of, well, here's how it works, or do people not care, or?
Sure. I think that's a great question. I think that the person I'm going to ask about that is Pam, because I think you're the one who's most recently gone canvassing and had to explain this to people who didn't know what it was about. So can you answer Blaine's question? How did it go?
Sure. Yeah. Okay. I think tabling at Esther Shore Park and or at different events. What was it? Was it the Wine and Jazz Festival? No, it was the Peace and Justice Festival, right? So that seemed to be like a real younger crowd demographically at the Peace and Justice Festival versus canvassing in the neighborhood that I was in was a much older neighborhood of Vancouver. And there was a lot of senior citizens in that neighborhood. So I kind of feel like when I canvassed the neighborhood, a good majority, maybe, I don't know, 40% or so. If we talk to the elderly people, a lot of them were like, I voted this way for 60 years. Why should I change now? We encountered some of that. I didn't encounter at the Peace and Justice Festival with a younger demographic that you're pitching to. So, you kind of have to consider your audience. And if people are real set in their ways and have always voted this way, they don't want someone coming in and throwing a wrench in it, So, but you have to win them over. And some people they were willing to listen to hear about, why it was a needed thing to change the way we vote. And other people just didn't want to hear it whatsoever. But I didn't get that at the Peace and Justice Festival. They were willing to listen. They were a younger crowd. They were more accepting of change. And so that's just kind of the reception that I noticed.
Awesome. Blaine, does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think that, there's a lot of, there's a lot of, I think people are worried about fraud. I mean, there was a mention of the person that, talk about fraud. And I think just the complexity of the various rounds and so forth can, give people a sense that, this is more complicated or too complicated or something. I mean, I think our volunteers can, explain it pretty simply, but it isn't as straightforward as, the current way of voting. It's definitely more involved. So it makes people have to think. And yeah, anyway, but yeah, that's good. Thank you.
Wonderful. Yeah, and for anybody who's a little apprehensive about explaining it to voters while canvassing, if you come to one of our canvassing events, you will be trained by an experienced canvasser. And in canvassing and phone banking and text banking for that matter, we give you a script of how to explain it, the words to say. So it is not, at the end of the day, it ends up not being that hard to explain it. And mostly off of the explanation we use, people get it. We focus on voter experience as opposed to explaining the nitty-gritties of how it gets tallied up. And so that leads more people to understand and be receptive, kind of conceiving of it from their standpoint. Let's see, I think that Lisa, you had your hand up next.
Thanks, Sam. And everybody, great to have you all here. And Blaine, thanks for your question. I have a feeling that there's several of you in the room who could say what I'm about to say too. But when people ask, how does ranked choice voting work? Try to remember that even though you know a lot, what they're really asking, what they're almost certainly asking is, how does it work for me? How does it work for me as a voter? So resist the temptation to try to tell them everything you know about ranked choice voting, and just say something very simple, maybe one sentence. Well, you get to rank the candidates instead of being limited to just pick one. First choice, second choice, third choice. That way, if your first choice doesn't have enough support to win, your vote isn't wasted. Something like that. And again, as Sam said, in the trainings that we do for phone banking and canvassing, we'll help you practice that, but come up with some version of that. Once you've said your pitch there, how it works for the voter, and it should be quite short, probably shorter than even what I just said, don't start telling them how the ballots are counted unless they ask. And most people really get it right away. They understand that having a backup choice means having a backup choice. So my vote isn't wasted. If I don't get my first choice, I'll get my second choice. That's the way backups work. And people do understand that. So, and I think most of you already are there, but I wanted to make sure that we were really clear about that. Thanks.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Lisa. Stony, you've got your hand raised.
Yes, Lisa just said everything I was about to say, except that in the last year, I've been tabling at the Bellingham Farmers Market almost every Saturday. And this year, by comparison with last year, twice as many people sign our sign-up sheets every session. And many more of them just know about ranked choice voting already somehow from all sorts of sources, and like it, and what they specifically like for themselves is what Lisa said. That's the fact that they get to put their mark beside more than one candidate, and it reflects their views better.
It's a very good point, Stony. And let's see, I saw another hand raised. Am I missing it? Sharon.
Yeah, I have mine. Yeah, you know, I also ended up pointing out to a lot of people that in the presidential primary in 2020, that almost 400,000 Washington state voters effectively threw away their vote because they chose the one candidate they could choose. They mailed in their ballot, and then their candidate dropped out of the race. And I pointed out that when we had the precinct caucuses, there was a ranked choice element to that. But now that we are doing only mail-in primary and we're not doing caucuses anymore, that we should have a ranked choice element so people won't have to go through that.
That is a very good point. There's a lot of different ways to reach people where they're at, talking about ranked choice voting. Kelsey brings up a really good example about talking to people about food or ice cream. I mean, we naturally rank our choices every time we go out to eat with people, and we're picking what kind of pizza we want. All those, those sorts of things make it really easy to make it concrete for people. Chris, what's up?
I like to say how it allows you to provide your full intent on the ballot in one. You can pass in that ballot and you can give all the information about how you feel about all of it, instead of, it's so much more information that is utilized to make good decisions.
That is also a great point. I love the like weighty.
I like that.
Provide your full intent. That's good. Okay, we are coming up on time. Anybody, Stony, you had something to add?
Yeah, just one more point. We have at our table little candy ballots. Not quite the same candies as we voted on just now, but a similar list. And 7th graders who come to the table have a great time filling out a ranked choice candy ballot. It's no problem for them.
Yes, one of the most fun events that I've done for ranked choice voting is in Clark County. We went to a tacos and tequila festival, and we had a little QR code there for people to rank their favorite tacos, and it was very easy for people to see. Scanning that QR code, they're like, oh, I like this one best. That one's pretty good too. And we're like, congratulations, you just voted with ranked choice voting. So yeah, all sorts of ways to explain it. Okay, 7:59. Steph, Vinay, Lisa, do we have anything else to add, or can we let these good people go? Oh, Pam, you've got something.
Yeah, really quick. I know when people, when I get past my first initial, you get to rank your choices first, second, and third, and they want to hear more about it. And we go into how it's like a instant runoff election, you know, there's no need for a primary, and it's used in 43 different jurisdictions across the country. Is that an accurate stat? Do you know what the current stat is on that? How many jurisdictions is it being used in right now across the country? Because I have 43 in my head, but that was
more than, now you can say more than 50, Pamela. More than 50.
Woo, you can say more than 55.
Two whole states.
Two whole states, Alaska and Maine. Right. Okay.
More than 50 cities and counties.
More than 50 cities. Okay.
John's got a hand up there.
You muted yourself, John.
John, you're muted.
You muted yourself, John. Sorry.
I'd like to emphasize what Lisa Aro said a few minutes ago. When you're tabling and when you're talking to people about this, keep it simple. Don't over-explain. Listen to what they say and respond to that, rather than feeling you've got to give them every detail about ranked choice voting. If someone says, I've always voted this other way, why should I change? You simply say you don't have to. You mark one on your ballot and you move on. If you want to forego the power of the additional power you have, that's your option. You don't need to change with ranked choice voting.
Wonderful. That is a very good point. Okay, it is 8 p.m. Unless Steph or Lisa or Vinay have anything else to add, I think that we can let everybody go for the evening. Thank you so much for coming out to our little rally. And I really hope to see some of you at our weekends of action, or if not, then at our other events. And of course, if you're interested in signs, go ahead, fill out that form, and we will be in touch with you shortly. So everybody, thank you so much again, and have a great rest of your evening, and hoping for 3 out of 3 on these campaigns. So yes.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.